Welcome to the Community Collective podcast. I'm Johnny B. Good, the flip-flop agent, and I've partnered with the Davison Area Chamber of Commerce to bring you the stories that shape our local communities. In our third season, our focus is about connecting, learning, and celebrating the voices that make our communities unique. Join us during this third season as we engage in thoughtful conversations and insightful moments. This podcast is commercial-free and supported by both myself, my co-host, and our guests. We would be so appreciative if you could like, share, and subscribe as we continue having conversations that matter, and cannot thank you enough for taking the time to listen. Welcome to another episode of the Community Collective podcast. I am Johnny B. Good, the flip-flop agent, and thank goodness, because I don't know how to do this on my own, I am joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Travis Howell. Travis, how are you doing today, buddy?
I am good. It is always a pleasure to hear your voice and get a day started listening to you.
You are very fortunate to hear from me, and that's great. I'm glad that you understand how fortunate you are. So,
This is the teamwork that we have.
oh yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. Isn't that the truth? So
It is.
the beauty of this is, even though these episodes are released weekly and there's 7 days that people just wait with bated breath to hear the next episode, we're actually recording what? Is it 5 episodes today?
We are at 5 today, and we have another, I think, 4 tomorrow. So we just have people excited to talk to us. And
Well,
I
of
think I
course.
always look forward to what we're going to learn each time we talk
Yeah.
to someone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are masters of efficiency because we got to be out there in the community doing amazing things. So if we can crank a bunch of episodes out in one day, we definitely want to do it. Right?
That's right. I completely agree. And I'm really looking forward to who we're talking with today.
No, I agree. So I'm actually going to take a back seat and you're going to steer the ship on this one, my friend. Today we're speaking with Jen Farrington, the chair for the Community Fund. And I know, Travis, that you've been involved with Jen and with the Davison Community Fund for a long time. So I'm going to hit the mute button. I'm going to let you guys take it away, and I'm going to take some notes and hopefully pick up some great information from you guys.
Yeah. Jen, how are you today?
Doing great, Travis. How are you?
Good. Well, thank you so much for taking some time today. I know we have had the opportunity to interact and get to know each other as we work together on the Davison Community Fund. But give me your official title and the overall organization that you're officially with to let everyone know about it.
Sure. So again, Jen Farrington. I'm a senior program officer at the Community Foundation of Greater Flint. This is my 16th year at the foundation. It's a pleasure to get to do what I do every day, helping our wonderful geographic affiliates, including our Davison Community Fund, get to work with folks from across the county who really care about their communities. And the other part of my job is managing our scholarship work. And for those who don't know, we offer about $300,000 in scholarships each year to graduating high school seniors and college students.
Great. And I think that's what we'll continue to learn more about your role and your experience, your time with the Community Foundation there. So the first question I think that would be really interesting for a lot of people to know or to learn about is something they maybe haven't heard of, or maybe they've experienced something from it. But Jen, can you share the story behind the establishment of the Davison Community Fund in 2004 and its core mission to support our local community?
Sure. So the way that I understand it, how it goes is that back in the early 2000s, there was a donor in community that really cared about Davison, wanted to leave a substantial gift to support the community, but there wasn't really an avenue that this person felt comfortable with in community to accept the gift, right? It wasn't like a neutral place that could accept the gift and manage it going forward. And what happened is that gift was never made, unfortunately, to support the community. But what happened was this great community effort led by 3 great community leaders who I'm sure you've all heard of, right? Tim Elkins, Bob Callis, and Pete Auger were really instrumental in, they were the driving force behind raising the seed funding in community to establish the Davison Community Fund, which is now an endowment at the Community Foundation of Greater Flint, which is now celebrating its 35th year, by the way. But what's great about the endowment is that the original gift is never spent. So that money continues to grow over time. the community foundation manages the assets. And then we have a wonderful advisory committee, of which you, Travis, are a part of, that has this wonderful community knowledge, manages, the helps to advise the grants from the fund, while the foundation staff provide administrative support. And that's sort of where I come in to help the committee.
I think that it's great to hear that there's people that are always wanting to look at ways to invest in our community. And the fact that there's, the initial idea was started from one person wanted to invest in the area, but wasn't sure of what would be the best avenue to do it. And it sounds like these three guys that most of us have interacted with or know of or have seen something they've been involved with got together, brainstormed a little bit. And do you know, how did they learn about the Community Foundation of Greater Flint?
Oh, that's a great question. I know Tim Elkins was really involved in community, I think was part of the United Way efforts at the time. And so somehow they got connected to the Community Foundation and, decided that the foundation was really the best fit for what they wanted to do going forward and how they wanted to see the Davison community supported for good forever for everyone. That's the Community Foundation's tagline. And so these funds are now available to help support, projects in community that really help take everything up a notch, right? Help to improve quality of life and help to ensure that everybody has what they need to be successful in our community.
Yeah, and I know I've been very fortunate to serve on the Davison Community Fund, and it has. And for the past year, it's been a big learning experience. And it's not just a few people. I think we have 12 or 15 people on that board and from all walks of life. And it's, we all have different backgrounds and we're all at different phases of where we're involved with and trying to learn what's going on in the community and get to really listen to people and find out where there's a need and hopefully spread the word about the Davison Community Fund.
Yeah, and I absolutely love our volunteers. And you're right, we have a wonderful committee of 15, area residents who are, they're retired volunteers, they're attorneys, they, work in parks and recreation. We've had financial managers, right? We have folks from all, like you said, all walks of life. And what is really amazing to me is they just care so much about the Davison community, and they show up and they're just really, we welcome, them to share their community knowledge with us. And because even though I live in the Davison community, I don't know all there is to know here. So I appreciate all of our volunteers and the way that they show up and really support the community through their service on the Davison Fund.
And I think this is the next part really kind of leads into, we're talking about the people that volunteer their time to be part of this. How does the Davison Community Fund identify and select projects to support? And what impact have these projects had on the city of Davison Township and Richfield Township communities?
Yeah, so the Davison Fund invites grant applications every year, and we actually have this great timing. We have an application deadline coming up, and that's on March 1. And we invite organizations doing work in the community to apply for a grant. And the grant application process is done through the Community Foundation of Greater Flint. There has to be, benefit to residents in either Davison City, Davison Township, or Richfield Township, right? Most of our grants are made to charitable organizations, which include school district, municipalities, faith-based organizations, and other nonprofits. And what we're really looking for here is proposals that help to improve quality of life for residents in those three municipalities, right? We are especially interested in projects that support the community's most vulnerable residents, right? That address the development of young people, that help to support youth activities, programs focused on STEM, literacy, basic needs, and mental health. So those are kind of the key areas we're interested in. In terms of impact, it's really hard to say kind of, what's been the result of those grants, but I can say, since 2004, the committee's advised 75,000 in grants, right? To support the local community, which is amazing to see, that growth over time. We've done a wide range of projects in that time span, from, supporting outdoor rec with improvements at our local parks, which we all love, right? inclusive playground equipment so that all kids have access to the kinds of play equipment that able-bodied kids have. Unique opportunities for Davison kids to learn and get some great opportunities. Within the school district, we've done grants to outreaches to help support basic needs. So again, we don't know the true impact, but what I can say is that these kinds of projects go a long way towards improving everyday quality of life and creating a community that we can all be proud to live in.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the great part. From the time that I've been on, and it's been through a grant season or year, you learn the history, and you then all of a sudden start realizing, oh, money went towards that, or that way bump into the community. And it's been such a wide variety. One that I was really fascinated by was with the high school doing kind of, what was it, the salmon growth, where
Salmon in the
they
classroom, yeah.
Yes, where it was based out of an art class, and students were able to watch the salmon process growth from the egg formation to large enough to release. And then they were monitoring it. They were required to check pH levels. But then you go out to the Robert Williams property for Davison Township Parks and Rec, and it was like a kind of a confidence rope course that was there. And it's amazing to see the wide variety, influence, and outreach that the Davison Community Fund does.
And I think, it reminds me of, we did a brainstorming session with the committee a few years ago, and the question was, how do we take Davison from good to great, right? What are the things in community that will really take us to the next level? And, parks came up, at the top of the list, right? And so that's sort of the lens that we're looking at when we evaluate grant applications is, what are the things that are really going to help take this community to the next level? What are the things that maybe many of us take for granted, right? Access to basic needs and mental health supports. I mean, do all community residents have what they need to be successful? And can we take this community, from good to great, right? And so those are some of the things that we're thinking about as projects come across.
Yeah. So now, could you elaborate on the role of the local advisory committee in reviewing grant applications and advising funding? Like, how does this process ensure that the funds
Yeah.
are utilized efficiently in our communities?
Yeah, sure. Well, we definitely want to be good stewards of the fund that was set up, again with our early visionaries, setting up this fund for the benefit of Davison. We want to be good stewards, right? And I'll say our advisory committee is really the beating heart of the Davison Fund. I mean, they are really, they bring so much value, right, to what we're doing, with our geographic affiliates, and their community knowledge is super important, as we're evaluating grant applications. We make sure that all of our volunteers are going through training on how to review grant applications. We have kind of a scoring sheet that we are using to evaluate. We try to make it an objective process as much as possible. And so, we're evaluating things like impact and, unmet community need. Is the project likely to be successful? And then we talk about the proposals, as, in smaller groups, as a larger committee, and how to apply the funding that we have available, right? We really strive for consensus, and we want to make sure that everybody feels good, at the advisory committee level about the decisions being made. Since we only have about 10,000, which is awesome, considering we started with about $500 back in 2009. So we've grown now to $10,000 with some wonderful donors. We can't fund everything in full, and so we have to make some tough decisions. But what's great is, because the fund is connected to the community foundation, we can braid together other funding, right, from the community foundation's other funding sources, and we can add additional dollars to a grant in some cases. So that's really a great connection, and why it's so good to be part of the community foundation. And you mentioned this earlier, but we like to be our advisory committee likes to be connected to all the grants that are made in community. And so we'll make field trips, is what I like to call them. We'll make site visits. We got to see that salmon in the classroom release. All the kids, releasing the salmon out at Stepping Stone Falls. And so it's really great to stay connected to those projects and see the work in action, right, in community.
It really is. And I feel like from the time I've started learning about it, it's a very educational and difficult process when you're looking over all the grant applications. And I know this last year we had a record number of applicants,
You're
and you're
right, we
looking at
did.
it and you're like, you're right. And when you're looking at these, it's amazing to see kind of what the needs are in our community, but it's sometimes things that you never even think about. And you're like, oh, that is something that is very unique to our area. Or they have this plan that I never would have imagined. And
Mhm.
it's very interesting to make sure that we're encompassing a lot of areas through the Davison Community Fund. But then, yeah, you mentioned the field trips. I think one of my favorite pictures that I've seen over the years is when Chris Graff was doing the confidence ropes course, climbing up on there. And I think he had a suit on too. So it shows you that Chris is not only dedicated, but he wants to have fun along with the team. And there's other members doing it, looks like too. So I think it shows that there are these things that are selected and grants given that everybody can enjoy or experience in our community. And Jen, I think you're right. It's looking at those needs that sometimes aren't always the most covered in the media or on Facebook. It's those ones that really just need that little extra boost to make sure they have an impact somewhere.
I think we've been, I think lucky to be a partner on some wonderful projects over the years. That low ropes course is a great example, right, at Williams Park. And so I think we're always looking for ways that we can play a role in community and be a partner. And we might not be able, we're not going to be the largest partner in the room, right? But we can still play a role in adding a small piece of funding to make a larger project possible in community. And so I feel like this year we're really trying to just, to not be the best kept secret in community. We want more people to know that the Davison Fund can be a resource for their projects, small or big in community. And we'd love to see, more of the need, right? Because when we get these grant applications in, then that helps our development team work with donors every day on setting up new funds at the community foundation to let them know, hey, we're getting, every year we're getting more applications in the Davison community that we could support with existing funding. And so it helps us guide our next steps in terms of working with donors.
Well, yeah. And you mentioned early on that there's been just a little over $75,000 invested in the area from donations from individuals to the Davison Community Fund that are going in our community. And you mentioned an example of the inclusive playground equipment. This is for the community fund is looking at ways to invest in all areas, but especially the younger ones that we want them to love living in Davison, love being there and making something accessible for everybody to enjoy.
We want to make sure that, all area residents have what they need to be successful, in community. And I think, that inclusive playground equipment's a great example. And this is for Seiple Elementary, part of the Davison schools. And they have a high number of kids at the school that are wheelchair bound and can't access the traditional play equipment, at Seiple. And so this was a great example of the school district was willing to put in some of the equipment, but they, requested funding to help support that last piece. And so the Davison Fund was able to support a small grant, and then the Community Foundation was able to fund it the rest of the way. And so, great example of being a partner on kind of a smaller project. But at the end of the day, it means that kids get access to play equipment that they would not have had previously. And so that's what we're really trying to do with this funding is just make sure that our most vulnerable residents are reached.
And looking at recent grants awarded by the Davison Community Fund, like the support for the Family Promise of Genesee County and outdoor archery range for Davison Community Schools, and you kind of touched on it. What kind of positive changes have these initiatives brought about in the community?
Yeah, sure. So Family Promise is a great, if you don't know already, they're a great organization working across Genesee County to address homelessness. And so they do that in partnership with churches. throughout Genesee County. And so this particular grant that the Davison Fund made, helped. It was during the pandemic, and so it helped to support deliveries of food and other basic needs items that we all probably take for granted. Um, and also helping to support families either who are experiencing financial crisis and are either at risk or experiencing current homelessness. And so, as a result of the grant, 30 people were able to be kept in their home. And about 250 families were served with, the food or basic need services for a total of 620 kids. So, that really is heartwarming to hear that funding was able to help so many, kids, not just in Davison, but, throughout the county with their efforts.
And you mentioned too the Community Foundation of Greater Flint. It has several kind of groups like the Davison Community Fund, but the Community Foundation's been around for 35 years. And you think in the big picture, it seems like a short time, but in that 35 years, I can only imagine how much has been invested in the whole county through, like you said, donations from people and always looking for ways to help.
Yeah, so the Community Foundation, we were established back in 1988. We were established by the forming of two organizations in community, the Flint Area Health Foundation, the Flint Public Trust, and the resulting merger of those two organizations formed the Community Foundation that we know today. And so in those 35 years, there's been about 174 million made in grants to support Genesee County. We're a place-based funder, meaning that we support largely Genesee County through our competitive grant making process. We've got about 35,000 donors. Thanks to the Flint water crisis, we have donors now that are international, that are from throughout the United States. So that's really kind of sets us apart from a private foundation in that our donations are coming from a broad range of the community. And so, Davison Fund is one of 5 geographic affiliates where we're really trying to work throughout Genesee County and what we call kind of hometown philanthropy. So we're also doing similar work in Clio and Fenton and Flushing and Grand Blanc, where we have an advisory committee that advises grants from an endowment that's held at the Community Foundation of Greater Flint. So these donors are really, we're thinking kind of long-term about these smaller communities and really wanting to support them for good forever.
And I think continuing on kind of the ideas and the interest of it too, you see helping individuals that are homeless, but also looking for ways to get kids and youth active. One of the areas here too is the outdoor archery range. I think for here in the Davison area for community enrichment. I think that's such a positive thing that, you think you live in a neighborhood or subdivision, you're not going to have maybe access or family that are used to archery, but here's something that you can sign up for that is now offered to kids.
Yeah, what I love about these grants is that they're really close to people, right? They're everyday things that really help to enhance quality of life, right? And so you think about the archery range, which this was a grant request that came to us from DSERV, the Davison Community Schools. And they were they've been seeing kind of an increase in kids, wanting to participate in archery. And they got the new property that they're currently located at on Lapeer Road, and they wanted to create this outdoor archery range. And so what they were really needed were some items to kind of increase their capacity to create this outdoor range, archery range, including kind of some storage, a storage shed to help store everything and make it a little bit easier on their instructors. And so what we heard is that about 80% of the kids that participate in archery are returning every year, year after year to participate. Many of these kids are not involved in other extracurricular activities, but they're excited to have found something that they enjoy in this archery program. So really funding programs like this, helps provide opportunities for youth who otherwise might not have them, right? And especially for those kids who aren't super athletic, they aren't interested in like a contact sport. But this is an opportunity for them to, build their self-confidence in a activity they enjoy and then interact with others and build friendships along the way. So we heard some really great stories as a result of this small grant. It was an $1,800 grant, but it just made kind of a huge impact for them, for the organization.
Building on that, what are the future goals and vision for the Davison Community Fund? And are there any upcoming kind of initiatives or projects that seem exciting or look exciting that could be taking place?
Well, I'm so excited that this is the 20th anniversary of the Davison Community Fund. So really excited to get out in the community more, to do some more outreach, to not have the Davison Fund be the best kept secret, right? For more people to know, you know, what it is that we do in community, and how we can help support local projects. And so, I expect we'll be doing a bit more kind of outreach and being more present in community at local events, just to try to raise awareness a bit more. I hope that we can address more community need through more grant applications being submitted, so that we can learn a bit more about what's happening in community and where the needs are, and we can better address those through our Davison Fund grant dollars. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great year. We've got some, we were sad to see a few of our retiring committee members go, that had served, a total of 10 years. And we've got some great new leadership um, on the board this year. So really excited for that new energy and to celebrate this anniversary and um, to, raise awareness and let more people know about the Davison Fund, I think is really the key this year.
Yeah. So if people that are listening want to check it out and read a little bit more about it, what is the best way for them to learn more about the Davison Community Fund or even think about donating? Well, I know that donations can be anything from $5 to any amount you can imagine, but just for educational purposes, how can someone learn what goes on and what the Davison Community Fund is if they need to visually read something?
So I would say go out to our website, which is cfgf.org/Davison. That will take you right to the Davison Community Fund page on the Community Foundation website. You can learn about recent grants. You can donate right from that page to the Davison Community Fund and help us grow our endowment so we can have more dollars to support community projects. But that's really the best place to start. And then if you have additional questions, my contact information is there. My colleague, Amy Krug, who works on the development side, the money coming into the foundation side, is always happy to answer questions about donations and gifts. And I'm happy to answer any questions about grant applications and how to apply for funding.
Yeah. Yeah. For anyone that organization that wants to apply for a grant, obviously they can contact you. Are they able to find that grant application on the website as well?
Yeah, I'd say we always encourage folks to reach out to the community foundation first to have kind of a quick conversation to make sure that the project that you're working on is a good fit for the Davison Fund. So I encourage everybody interested to reach out to me, and then we can set up a time to talk further to make sure that your project's a good fit. And then, if we feel like, it's good for you to move forward, then there's an online application process that's done through our website. But it's pretty. We have some awesome staff at the Community Foundation to help you along the way.
I am excited to be part of celebrating 20 years of the Davison Community Fund in the area. I'm also really looking forward to just continuing to see who applies. Before we know it, Jen, I think you're right. This is not going to be one of the best kept secrets in the area. I think more and more people are going to learn about it. They're going to realize that have experienced or interacted with something that the Davison Community Fund helped invest in. And I think that's something exciting to really look forward to. I think now that we're celebrating 20 years in the Davison area.
And that's a great way to look at it as well. As somebody that was not tremendously familiar with what it was that you guys did over at that organization, I'm sitting here taking notes and just trying to soak it all in. It is amazing to know that when these donations come in, that there are stewards in place that are taking care of the funding and ensuring that it is going out to the organizations and businesses, whomever, that are requesting these grants and you guys approving these grants, that there's a thoughtful process behind it. And it's not filled with nepotism like our government is. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. But it's good to know that there is some thoughtful leadership in place, especially with the water crisis and the things that you referenced, where it does attract additional philanthropy. And to know that, again, people are taking care of the funds that are coming in, and it's not just being given out willy-nilly without a thought or a care of where it goes. So I truly appreciate the work that you and your team has done, and knowing that the community fund here in Davison is preparing to celebrate a 20-year anniversary is just amazing. So thank you so much, Jen, for all the work that you do, and please convey our gratitude to your team as well.
Thanks so much for having me.